Hi everyone, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. The video that I'm going to be doing today is a bookshelf tour because in the past year or so, maybe a little bit more than a year, ever since I discovered BookTube, my collection has grown quite a bit as I've discovered more authors, series, books that I've loved and that I've been really interested in. So I have quite a few more books than I have ever had before, and I thought that it would be really fun just to take you through it really quickly. I do have one shelf that is primarily fantasy and a bit of sci-fi, and then I have another shelf that is more miscellaneous with a little bit of fantasy as well, but I am going to put timestamps to the best of my ability to separate out the genres. So if you would like to skip around, those are going to be in the description and in the time bar. And so yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's get into the books. We'll start with a couple of books that were off my shelves because they're currently in progress, and that will be Mansfield Park by Jane Austen and The Complete Tales and Poems of Edgar Allan Poe. On the top of this main shelf, we have Mythology, The Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes by Edith Hamilton, illustrated by Jim Tierney, and The Books of Earthsea, The Complete Illustrated Edition by Ursula K. Le Guin, illustrated by Charles Vess. On this top shelf, we have Ring Shout by P. Djeli Clark, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, making up The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, and The Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan, which are books 1 through 3 of The Wheel of Time, The Shadow Rising, The Fires of Heaven, and The Lord of Chaos, which are books 4 through 6 of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, which are the only 6 books that I own of this series at the current time. Next, we have Mistborn, or The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, making up his first era Mistborn trilogy. Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, Arcanum Unbounded by Brandon Sanderson, the Cosmere Collection. Next, we have The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, Edge Dancer, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War, the 4 books in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, plus Edge Dancer the novella that comes between Words of Radiance and Oathbringer in this series. First up on this shelf, we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, Circe by Madeline Miller, Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahiran, The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, Malice and Ruin, books 1 and 3 in the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne, because books 2 and 4 are currently making their way to me, so hopefully I will have them soon. Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, The Blade Itself, Before They Are Hanged, and The Last Argument of Kings, making up the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, The Lies of Locke Lamora, Red Seas Under Red Skies, and The Republic of Thieves, which are the first 3 books in the Gentleman Bastards series by Scott Lynch, Jade City and Jade War, the first 2 books in the Green Bone saga by Fonda Lee, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames, Fireborn by Rosaria Munda, The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams, The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman and illustrated gorgeously by Elise Hurst. And finally for this shelf, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. On the bottom shelf, we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, the first book in his Kingkiller Chronicles, Warbreaker, a standalone novel by Brandon Sanderson, Mort and Guards by Terry Pratchett, which are both part of the Discworld, but are the first books in the Death subseries and the City Watch subseries, respectively. Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, The Lightning Thief and The Sea of Monsters, the first 2 books in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series by Rick Riordan, The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, The Chrysalids by John Wyndham, The Half-Drowned King, The Sea Queen, and The Golden Wolf, part of a trilogy that I don't know the name of, by Linnea Hartsucker, Blood Like Magic by Lucille Sambury, The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, the first book in the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft, Vicious by V.E. Schwab, the first book in her Villains series, The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wong, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, Elotsawe by Darcy Littlebadger, The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, Leviathan Wakes, the first book in the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey, Legendborn by Tracy Dion, and finally, for this shelf, Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. On this shelf, we have the graphic novelization of Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst, the first book in the Queens of Renthia series, Atomic Habits by James Clear, a nonfiction, Your House Will Pay by Steph Cha, My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, American Dirt by Janine Cummins, War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, Educated by Tara Westover, a memoir, and Unraveling Oliver by Liz Nugent, a psychological thriller. On this shelf, we have Strange Planet by Nathan W. Pyle, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, which will not stand up by itself, Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, Beartown by Frederick Bachman, Fugitive Pieces by Anne Michaels, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, American Gods by Neil Gaiman, Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Frederick Bachman, Hamlet by William Shakespeare, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi, The English Girl by Catherine Webb, Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, and then we have my Funko Pop of Frederick Anderson and my Hockey is for Everyone puck that I'm just going to move out of the way so that we can get to those other books. Emma by Jane Austen, Pet Sematary by Stephen King, The Shining by Stephen King, The Iliad by Homer, translated by W.H.D. Roos. Okay, I'm glad that this is a thrift store copy of Timeline by Michael Crichton. And finally, Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. For the top shelf, which is out of frame, we have The Disappearance by J.F. Friedman, which will not stand up on its own, Room by Emma Donoghue, The Five People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie, The Hollow by Agatha Christie, The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie, and finally, a little bit of a well-worn copy of Jack and Jill by James Patterson. So those are all of the books that I have on my shelves here in my student house, and I hope that you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments what you think, and that is going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you liked the video, subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!